Welcome to Powering Success, future-proofing your generator company, the go-to podcast for industry leaders in the generator installation and service business. Here we dive into the strategies and innovations that keep your company ahead of the competition and bring you insights from top experts and successful entrepreneurs. Let's get started and power up your potential. Now here's your host, marketing guru John Tedesco.
All right, welcome back to the show. Today, we've got a really special conversation lined up. We're joined by Jesse and Ryan, the owners of Generator Power Systems out of Minnesota. These two grew up together in the electrical trade, and in 2010, they launched GPS as a spinoff from Jesse's family business, Jim's Electric, which has been serving the community since about the 1970s. Since then, Jesse and Ryan have built GPS into a trusted name for standby generator installation and service, helping homeowners and businesses across the region, keeping the lights on when it matters most, from residential installs to municipal projects like fire stations and assisted living facilities. Their team has earned a reputation for quality, reliability, and personal customer care. So we'll dive into their journey as entrepreneurs, the challenges of running seasonal businesses, and why backup power has become such an essential part of modern life. So let's welcome Jesse and Ryan from Generator Power Systems. How you doing, guys?
Good. Morning, John.
Awesome. So could you both introduce yourselves and share a little bit about the backgrounds in the electrical trade?
Sure. Jesse here. I grew up in the business, 1976. So we're coming up on 50 years here next year. I remember being in the business the whole time and never was going to be an electrician. And one day I didn't know what else to do. So I said, well, I'll do this and can always fall back on it. And then somewhere along the way, I decided to move home and Dad said, yeah, I got a job for you. And now I bought the family business. And in between there, we were a little before Y2K when that scare was coming around, the world was going to fall apart. Putting in generators, one of the first ones we put in was for a lady that had an oxygen machine. So we started getting asked to do them, and then it was like, hey, if we're going to get serious, we should try and make this more of something we do. Ryan was doing all the installs at the time. Yep. And then if we're going to get serious, we thought having a name that said all we do is generators was pretty important.
So my name is Ryan. I started with Jim's Electric back in 1996. I came right out of trade school. I've been here since then. I did a lot of housing to large industrial commercial buildings as far as the electrical side goes. And then they came to me in 1999 and said, we're going to get into generators. So we went off to school for Kohler generators. And we started learning that side of the business. And then in 2010, we went full time, and that's all I've been doing is generators. So,
Nice. Okay. So what's it like being partners after growing up as apprentices together, you know?
Well, fun fact, Ryan was my journeyman for about a month. Yeah. I got my license. So we grew up in the trade together. No, it's a great working relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ryan does a lot more of the technical day to day, and Jim's Electric being around, I've been more involved in the business side, so it's always like, how are we going to get done? I'd probably see more of that.
You're right.
So we bounce off, and the last few years, for sure, we've gotten more serious about running as a business and not just something we show up and do every day.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah. So what was it like transitioning from working with your father, Jim, to running GPS independently?
It was a slow, gradual transition. I don't think it was anything. It just kind of happened. One day I never thought I'd see the day he'd retire. And one day he went on vacation and everything was running and he never came back. So it was never thought I'd see the day. And it was the trust he put in us was pretty awesome.
Do you think maybe he would have sold the business had you not stepped in?
I don't think there was a master plan. I think, family businesses, it's a pretty natural thing for the kids to come in and see where that goes.
Yeah, I see that with a lot of generator dealer businesses, that the kids are coming up, taking over the business rather than, these private equities coming in and scooping them up. So
we see that stuff out there. I don't think we've seen it in our market so much. I mean, we're 2 hours north of Minneapolis, so we're a little insulated from that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So tell me a little bit about the products and services, right? So you guys are you primarily Kohler and some Generac? Tell me a little bit about those differences in the brands that you guys are working with.
Yeah, we're probably on the residential side, primary Kohler. We are a Generac dealer also. We sell a fair share of Generac, but mostly push our Kohler product line just because it's been a better working relationship with us and the Kohler factory mostly.
Okay, and you also have.
Yeah, and on the
Go ahead.
industrial side, we do industrial commercial. We do the Blue Star.
Blue Star, yeah.
Blue Star, right?
Yeah, both Kohler and Generac also dabble in the industrial side, but there's other dealers out there, and they only give that type of dealership to one customer, or one dealer. So we found Blue Star Power Systems. They're a Minnesota built generator, and they've been a good fit for us.
Okay. It's definitely a mixed bag. I mean, a lot of dealers deal with Generac, deal with Kohler, and sometimes there is no rhyme or reason to, into what's the driving force for either one. Sometimes it's the co-op, sometimes it's the machinery or the equipment or being able to get the equipment, that kind of thing. I don't really know. I don't know if it matters to the actual business end of things. I don't think people are calling up saying, I absolutely need a Kohler or I need a Generac or anything like that, right?
Right. Once in a while you get people that do that, but for the most part, they put the trust in us as dealers to pick what's going to be, their best fit for them.
And I think up till now, the Kohler for us has been more of the personal touch from their side of things, just a little more, got a rep that comes around, sees us on a regular basis, things like that. So they've built kind of that relationship.
Yeah. Nice. Okay. Can you walk me through a typical residential generator installation? Like, start from the very beginning, like maybe when a lead comes in or when somebody finally calls you, some of those types of details.
Sure. So yeah, when a lead comes in, our first step is we make an initial contact with the customer and with our sales guy. His name is Brock. So then he sets up a meeting and he'll go out and have a consultation done with them. He'll walk through the job site and see what do they all have there? What kind of equipment do we have? Air conditioners? Do we have hot tubs? Electric hot water heaters? And what's the big loads? Determine what is their big concern and what do they really need running during any power outage. So he'll get that all done, and then he'll go off of that and he'll build an estimate and get it sized to what their needs are. He'll do that all right on site. Everyone will have an estimate when we walk out of there, and then once they sign up, we get it set up on the schedule with our installers, and typically it's about a 2-day process for us to come out and get them installed and get the gas hooked up and get them commissioned and get the customer trained.
I assume you guys have the capabilities of trenching if you need to, or all of the electric, all of the gas.
Definitely. Yeah. We've got trenchers. If we get some big ones and we get some real custom landscaping stuff that we don't want to mess up, we got contacts that do boring, so we'll bring them in. They'll bore it in, so we don't have to disturb their nicely landscaped lawns. This year we started. We used to sub out all of our gas connections, but we've kind of learned on our own how to do that, and that's been a real good fit for us this year, because now we're taking out coordinating the installation with another subcontractor, which usually brought us into another trip back there because we had to wait till they get it done. So now it's the timely of getting it done in a day to 2 days. The installation it's been great now.
And one thing, the relationship is, so I know I see a lot of guys out there, they're electrical contractors that do generators and a generator dealer. We've chose to break it into 2 companies, which kind of, we always get the why don't you just do one? Well, the cool thing is Ryan and his team over there, they have other electrical contractors that can show up and work on site, and it doesn't look like a competitor per se. And then, he can go out and meet the end user. And if he gets the big installs, if it's not in our territory, he can go find an electrician to work with him. Or if it's in our area, and his guys are kind of more resi based installs, I would say.
Exactly. Yeah.
He'll come and say, hey, this is bigger than my team. They're not set up, tooled up. And then we'll go do the install a lot of times and stuff like that too. So it's just, we can kind of ride that wave and find what's a good fit for the customer and, responsiveness and things like that. So it works out pretty good.
Yep.
Yeah, nice. And how is it? How is it permitting? And you handle all of that, I assume. You have a lot of trouble with permits?
No, in Minnesota, it's you just go online and fill out the application. So it's pretty simple process until you get to certain municipalities. Then we got to watch it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. It's not like over here in New Jersey. Sometimes it takes weeks, months. It's sometimes it's a hassle.
We're fairly rural in a rural community where we're at. There's a lot of people in Twin Cities have lake homes and second homes here. So in our market, it's we have co-ops for utilities, so we can call them up. We know all the guys. It's really simple to get stuff done for the most part. We start getting down towards Minneapolis, and you get big utilities down there, and that can be a longer lead time and different adventure for sure. They're definitely not as easy to work with as the guys we work with every day.
Right. Okay, so what type of commercial clients you usually working with?
We do a lot of apartment buildings down in the metro. We got that type of client.
Mm-hmm.
We do a lot of wastewater and water treatment plants. Do nursing home type stuff. But mostly it's been apartment buildings. Has been
towables. We get into towables with the municipals. Yeah. Municipalities that have like their wastewater where they move them around depending on how the storms hit them.
Yep. And bounce from lift stations around town too.
And these are different crews that you have doing this work, the commercial work?
Yes, I have. So that's kind of what differentiates us from like an electrical contractor and stuff. We have both electricians on staff and we have mechanics on staff. So, so our commercial, we have one guy that mostly just runs around and does all the maintenance and servicing of the commercial units. And I have another guy that's mostly residential and he does all the installs. And then we got some guys that are just learning it. They're mechanics. And then the automotive mechanics, that's their background, and they're going to start to learn this. So we're starting them off at the on the residential side, and hopefully grow him into the industrial side too. So
yeah, sure, nice. That's good. You can work both of those at the same time with the same crews, and have separate crews. A lot of guys don't have separate crews, and some of the guys don't even want to get into the commercial generator installs or service, just and just focus on the residential. And sometimes it's the opposite.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that is one advantage we have being electrical contractors. When we get into a big service, like how do you typically generators are retrofit. They're very rarely on the new. I mean, they do them on the new side, but a lot of times when Ryan gets brought in, his team is retrofitting. How do we stick a generator and you got 800, 1200 amp service? How do you make it work? I see that stuff all the time, so I can walk in and help them design that quick, and then scope it and say, here's how you do it, and put a budget together for the customer, see if they want to move forward or not.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So what's the biggest misconception homeowners have about generators? I mean, it's probably pretty consistent, from dealer to dealer, from state to state, but I'm curious to hear it from you guys.
What we mostly run into is the customer seems to be surprised at how that we have to do maintenance to them once a year. They're like, well, these things only run for 20 minutes a week, so they only get 10 to 15 hours a year. So why do we need to change the oil? Well, we tell them it has to, especially up here in our environment where we're we get sub-zero temperatures in the winter. These generators run during those sub-zero temperatures during exercises. So what happens is condensation builds up inside the engines. That oil will turn into, it looks really milky and stuff. So we just, tell these homeowners, this is a must. We have to have these maintained once a year. And then they see the benefit of that. Well, once we explain why we're doing that. So I think that's been our biggest misconception of them that I've noticed.
Yeah. Somebody once told me it's like running a car engine without doing any kind of service or maintenance to it.
Right.
Right. You go for so long, you got to do something to it to make sure that it'll continue to run.
Right. And then the thing with the car is, you're in it, you hear the rattles or whatever's going to go on with that. The generator, it's out there all by itself and it's automatic, so you don't hear, you're not going to see, if it's making weird noises and stuff, you don't know
Right.
that.
You just have no idea. Just hope that it's going to kick on when it needs to.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And I tell people, I get the question sometimes, well, can't I just change my own oil? I said, absolutely. They said, but here's the thing. When it comes to warranty issues, you have my guys do it. They're experts. They're going to hear when it doesn't sound right, doesn't look right. They're going to pick those little things up because that's what they do every day.
Yep.
You're just going to check the dipstick and
you're just basically dropping the oil out and dumping it back in there. So
right. You need that trained guy to listen to it and feel it out. Sure. And what about price? I mean, people have any issues? I mean, Costco and Home Depot and these retailers are marketing this as $5,000-$6,000.
Right. Yes. That is another issue we run into. I think what we used to bid it out as just a lump sum number. And so they see that $12,000-$13,000 number and they're just like, well, I can go to Costco and get it for $6,000. So now we've been breaking that out. And, Costco, you're not getting the cold weather kits. You have to have a cold weather kit on them up here. Otherwise they're not going to start. They're not having the battery, you got sales tax and installation, they don't see all that stuff when they're looking at that $6,000 number. And, like I said, I think I found that breaking that out, they can see, oh, that's where all this, this $12,000 install is coming from, is all these other parts and pieces that we need.
Yeah, sure. Well, yeah, I guess you have to be able to get past those objections all the time, for sure. All right, so let's talk about goals. So right now we're aiming for 100 residential installs per year. What's driving that growth goal? What's driving that actual goal?
Our COVID numbers, when we were hitting the peak and everybody was just saying, show up and put one in, trying to get right back to that. And I think we're trending in the right direction, but it's definitely not what it was 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And what's the biggest challenge in generating enough leads more recently?
I think the biggest challenge is just getting the lead and then getting a good quality lead. We've found that we would get leads, but we would get nowhere, no return call and stuff. So getting the good quality has been.
That's been the biggest thing. Brock, our sales guy, since we started working with you, he said, I don't know if I'm getting more, but they are way better people to talk to and we're not getting tired kickers. They'll return my calls. They're actually serious about it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's been, it hasn't been that long, but it's been noticeable how much better it's been.
Yeah, sure. And, and some leads still come in and they're not great. It all depends on where the lead is coming from. If you're just dependent on, Generac's power play or, what Kohler might be feeding you in terms of leads, or if you're just running a Facebook campaign, the leads might not be great. But if you've got your organic dialed in, if your website is looking great and it has good content, and people come in via search and they're searching because they're looking for somebody to do an install, that lead is much higher in quality because the intent is different. Where be there when they're looking, that's the whole plan in getting better quality leads.
My
and
whole career coming up on 50 years, we've always been word of mouth and, reputation, local reputation. The light bulb in the last few years has gone off that, hey, we are talking to a whole bunch of new people that don't know us and working with like your company, just how different that is. And this is all new to us. So this is awesome.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. How about seasonality though? How is the seasonality of the business shaping the planning?
Yes, that's a challenge for us, I guess. We're learning now to do some installs in the weather, or when the weather gets cold, ground gets frozen. We've got ways to thaw the ground now. We're not trenching 200 feet, but if we have to dig 3-4 feet, so just to keep our guys busy, we're doing installs through the winter. But the other thing it drives too, winter, the cold months, it drives service calls. So we get busy doing that stuff, during the cold months when we're not as busy doing installs. But then
Okay.
the summers, we stay fairly busy, but for some reason the fall, I think, like Jesse said, a lot of our customers are, these are their second homes or cabins. So we tend to see that they don't want us working on their cabins while they're there in the summer, enjoying it. So right now everyone's like, all right, let's get this done in the off season when we're not going to be there and you won't be bothering.
Sure.
And right now we're fighting. We've got about another week for the ground freezes, and that going into fall, and everybody goes, "Oh shoot, I should have called you in June, but I want to get it done now." So I think Mother Nature drives a lot of that.
Yeah, the fear of the impending season is usually the driving force for you guys then.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then if we do get that big snowstorm or ice storm here in the next couple of weeks, the phones will start ringing again too. People are like, "Oh, I need to get this done."
Yeah. And now you're behind, and you got to stack them all up.
Right.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay. So you guys have a small but a strong team. How do you maintain quality with just 6 employees?
I guess just staying in touch with them and, make sure everyone's staying on task. We got to be on task if you're only running 6 guys and we got busy schedules. So
yeah,
it's just, keep constant contact with the guys and make sure everyone knows what they're doing and not make mistakes.
I think we're refining our checklist more all the time too.
Yeah.
I mean, that becomes every day like, oh, hey, here's something new. You think you got it covered. And as you add another person to the team, the checklist and all that stuff definitely help.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, nice. And what about sales? So I think Brock, you brought Brock on. Was that recent?
It's been about 1.5 years now.
Okay. So how has having a dedicated salesperson, changed things?
Yes. I think the biggest thing that's changed is before him, it was me doing most of the sales. Jim would come in and do some with us, but the timeliness of getting to these customers have gone to they call today. Typically we can get to them in a day or two. Prior to having Brock here, it would be a week or two before I could get to them. And by that time we find most of the customers had probably went somewhere else and bought. So having a guy just dedicated just to that sales has been huge for us, I think.
Yeah, and you recognize a big change in conversion. Like even the quality of leads can stay kind of where it is, but having a dedicated salesperson, has that changed, do you think, conversion?
Yes, it definitely has changed in conversions.
Yeah, and we started. We're switching software, we're moving to one of these CRMs.
Yeah.
But the one we're on, having that price book and everything, so it's all in there and can move quicker. Versus, hey, here's a spreadsheet and a Word doc and all that. It's definitely noticeable how fast you can, improving the process, how we move through the system is, probably sounds basic to some people out there, but it has been an eye opener how much simpler it is to get things done now.
Sure. And I know Brock is even using, the workflows that we put in place for him to help his job. I mean, his job is a little simpler. And, when he doesn't have to remember to do constant follow-ups for people that might be ghosting him, that could even, increase his conversion rate. He has more time to spend with the customers that are talking to him. So I think that's been a really good change.
Yep. Definitely.
So what makes your technicians stand out from the competition? I know you don't have a tremendous amount of competition in Minnesota, but what stands you out?
I think a lot of it too, maybe more on the industrial side, but having electrical background, having electricians on staff, and then that's helped me working with the electrical contractors, because a lot of these generator dealers, they're just mechanics that are out there working on them. But we have the knowledge of the electrical field too. So and we have mechanics too, but I think that's been the biggest advantage that our crew has.
Yeah. And what do you look for when bringing someone new onto the team?
Yeah, it's been a challenge. You don't just go out and hire a generator tech. There's not. I mean, there is some schooling geared towards it, but it's not there's not really a training just to be a generator tech. So basically just looking at their backgrounds, I guess. And
I don't care what position it is, finding somebody to say cultural fit and somebody that you're going to like working with is huge. I've learned that lesson multiple times in my career. And our last tech that we brought on the generator side was somebody Brock knew and said, "Hey, we're looking. He's a mechanic, and Austin's been knocking out of the park from everything I hear." So
he's been a great addition.
That's great. Do you have a process in place for hiring new techs, or do you keep a funnel of new prospects coming in case of the need?
So the biggest thing is Ryan's running into installs, needing help there. And he'll go, "Hey, we're pushing out 3-4 weeks on installs." And I'll go, "Okay, see if I can free a crew up and go over and help them do installs." That's the biggest thing.
Yeah.
So there's an advantage. So effectively we're one big company, but at the same time, it's a specialty where he can kind of hone in on his world, but we've been able to kind of utilize the resources between both companies.
Right.
Keep that moving.
Sure. Okay. So do you have a favorite story or a customer who really appreciated your work? Maybe the one whose generator survived a tornado.
Yeah. I just had this happen last week. It's a real good customer of ours. Dave Phelps, he came from the Jim's Electric side. We've been doing work for him probably 40 years. I don't know.
Dad's been working for a long time.
For a long time. And I call him up to do maintenance on his generator here last week. And he goes, "Oh, I got a great story for you." He goes, "This summer they had a large storm that came through northern Minnesota." And he gets a phone call in the morning, and it's one of a couple of his neighbors. They're like, "Hey, can you come and help us?" He said, "Yeah, what's going on?" He said, well, we can't get down our road. The storm came through last night and there's trees everywhere." And he's like, "Really?" He said he didn't even know. He said he didn't know the power was out. His generator was running all night, and he didn't even know until he walked outside or got that phone call. And he said it was the greatest thing ever. So,
wow.
Yeah, it was pretty cool to hear that.
That's great. I guess that's what you could hope for at every turn.
Yeah. And I know there's a lot of other ones, but that one just popped to my head. Just a fresh one that came through. So.
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
I don't know. We had one buddy that's been working on a new Ford plant and said, "Hey, somebody forgot to order a generator 2 years ago." Yeah. And he tells me, I'm like, "Holy cow, man." And they called Ryan. And he goes, "Yeah, I found him one." So we shipped it down and stuck one on the Ford plant down in Memphis.
Yeah, that was
kind of fun.
That was cool. Both Jesse and I went down there and did the startup, and it was really interesting.
Nice. Okay. How do you handle coordinating with propane companies or outside vendors, that kind of stuff?
Yeah, now that we're doing some or most of the gas connections ourselves, it's helped us out. The propane companies still don't want us hooking to their tanks, so we have to coordinate that. Mostly, I leave that up to the customer. They almost have to initiate that because I can't authorize the propane company to come and do the work.
Mm-hmm.
But usually I have them make the initial phone call, and if they need more technical data, just have them call and we work with them. And it's been working pretty good for us. And now once in a while, we still have to hire an HVAC company to do the gas connection. If it gets a little more complicated than what we're comfortable with, we've got HVAC companies that we can hire. But it's been pretty good working with all of our subcontractors, I guess.
Yeah. And how do you position yourselves against some of the bigger companies? I don't want to say the name of the bigger company that we're up against, especially since they've kind of been VC backed. So how do we position ourselves against them?
Yeah, I guess, obviously they got better buying power. They get them cheaper, so it's hard to compete against them as far as on the install side. But we're finding that we can make the sale. We might be a little bit more, but we're more local than them. We're finding that we can do the maintenance a lot cheaper than what they are. So we're using that end to try to even if we're going to be a little bit more on the on a sale, we can save them some money, 10 years, as the maintenance process goes on. So
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, we use the size of the company to our advantage is the way I would say it.
Yeah. The bigger they are, the harder they fall.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So if we look 5 years down the road, what does success look like for GPS?
I would like to see, continue growing our team. We'd like to get a few more techs, be able to keep them busy year round, doing services and stuff would be where I would like to see in 5 years.
Yeah, we should probably do a better job of forecasting, budgeting, and planning, but sometimes show up and just get our job done. I would say if we were double the size company, staff wise, that'd be a huge win.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm. What are some of those business type of struggles, like a financial officer, things like that? You have all of that in place?
You're looking at them.
You're looking at it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Both of us, back between.
We're electricians by training. We
Sure.
learned.
Yeah.
Right. And I came right out of the field to a business owner, basically, and Jesse worked his way through it, but he's been, on the business side of it longer probably than what I have been. But
yeah, I know the struggle is real. And it's like the last thing that you want to focus on is the books and the goals and the KPIs and all this other stuff. It's very, very difficult to finally work that into your process.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Ryan, but I would say, like working with John and stuff, it probably came more from me going, hey, we need to really look at this stuff. Ryan's in the field, putting out the fires, talking to the customers. I'm like, we need to spend more time and do this. And we've done more of that now. And you can see it's getting better.
Yeah.
I wish we'd done it 5 years ago. Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
We just didn't see the value in it, but now we're just like, holy buckets, we need to be doing this.
Okay. And what role do you think backup power will play in people's lives as extreme weather events become more common?
Well, I think the backup power is going to become way more common. Not just the extreme weather conditions. I can see, the conditions of the grids and everything's going electric and stuff. So
2010. Selling generators in 2010 was a lot different than 2015. We had a massive storm that came through.
Yeah.
I mean, literally knocked power out for 3-4 weeks in the area, in some areas. And ever since then, we've gotten hit with storms, much kind of like you're on the East Coast. We don't get the hurricanes and stuff, historically speaking. Now, in the last 10 years, we've gotten more of those weather events.
Yeah.
And people read the news and all that stuff. And all of a sudden now it's a real thing they think about and go, yeah, we should really have, a plan here, make sure we're a little more self-sufficient. So having a conversation is a lot different after 2015 than it was before then.
Yeah.
Before then, to us, I think people looked at it as like a luxury. Just maybe never had the issues with power quality or running out, so that it has really changed the game.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And my last question, what would you say to somebody that's trying to get their generator business started up, or maybe they're a one-off guy, maybe they're going to try to set their own business up? What do you think their first steps should be?
Oh man, do a business plan.
Do a business plan.
How are you going to reach your customers? All that business 101 stuff that I think a lot of those guys that you're referring to are probably a technician that says, hey, they want to make the next leap, but it takes you a while to figure out what you don't know.
Yeah.
You see somebody down the road that's growing and man, look how successful they are. Well, they didn't do that overnight.
No.
They've definitely been working at it. So
yeah, for sure. Okay. What else can you tell me that I have forgotten to ask?
I don't know.
I think that was pretty good.
Yeah, I think it was good. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I would just tell anybody, and anybody that's got any curiosity, call John. He's got a lot of good content, does some great podcasts, things like that. I was listening to one this morning that I was like, hey, I need to learn more about this stuff. And the whole AI thing is coming around more than I realized.
Yeah, that's a constantly changing battle, but we figure we have our finger on the pulse with AI. We're connected with about 300 or 400 other digital agencies facing the same struggles. and these other digital agencies that we working with are home service agencies, working with, smaller companies too. So, we're always talking about this stuff. We're always investigating the best ways, the best things to do, and how it's being utilized. So, we pride ourselves on, being at the top level of what's going on with all of that.
But where I'm going with it is, yes, I don't have the time to dig into it. You guys are doing that. And
Yeah.
so all those things we can, hey, John, I saw this, what you think? And you've done that a few times, and you just say, here, you give me the 30-second conversation I need to focus on. So that's been huge.
Yeah. Actually, I did remember one thing. Tell me about the race car thing that you guys are into.
That's
Brock sent me. Is that Brock? That's not you guys?
That's more Brock,
okay.
Yeah,
that must be Brock. Yeah, he's got a buddy that's into racing, and I don't know what his involvement is in it, but he's got
it. Okay.
some time and invested into it. But yeah.
Brock does. He does announce for one of the racetracks down by St. Cloud.
Yeah.
So he does Saturday night. He's an announcer down there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. He sent me a picture of his trucks.
Yeah, he's in this. He's sales, but his background is a mechanic. He was mechanic on like some snowcross type venues and stuff like that. So he's still highly involved in racing, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So how about you guys then? What are your hobbies?
We both enjoy hunting.
Yeah,
do it as much as we can.
Yeah, I do a lot of hunting. I enjoy golf. Travel is kind of a drug when I can do that. I like getting out and
we all
like on a plane and going somewhere. That's always fun.
Yeah, nice.
Fishing in the winter. I try to get out and do some ice fishing and stuff too. So.
Yeah, for somebody that's never done ice fishing and you live in the warmer southern climates, you want to come up sometime and get on a lake and drive a truck across the lake. That's always it's always fun to take somebody the first time they've never done that before.
Yeah, that's scary. I'd rather go up in a plane.
It's fun to watch their eyes.
Thank you for listening to Powering Success, future-proofing your generator company. Be sure to subscribe wherever you heard this podcast so you never miss a future episode. For more information or to connect with John, visit him online at www.generatorseo.com. If you found value in today's content, please share with others and leave us a rating and a review. Until next time, this has been Powering Success.